The cold metal floor bit into Maya Chen's bare feet as the Zaltharian guards dragged her through the massive temple corridors. She was only 8 years old, small even for a human child, with dark hair that hung in tangled waves around her face. Her simple gray clothing marked her as a prisoner from the outer colonies. Around her, thousands of Zaltharian citizens gathered to watch. They were tall reptilian beings, their scales shimmering in shades of green and gold under the temple lights. Their eyes were cold and unblinking as they watched the human child pass by. To them, this was a sacred ceremony that happened once every 100 years. Maya did not cry. She had seen too much in the past few months to waste energy on tears. She had watched her colony burn. She had seen her parents taken away by Zaltharian soldiers. Now she walked toward whatever fate awaited her with quiet dignity that confused her captors. The high priest Zalthor led the procession. His crimson robes dragged behind him on the polished floor. His voice echoed through the chamber as he spoke in the Zaltharian language, telling the crowd about their ancient tradition. Every century they fed their sacred beast with a living offering. This kept their empire strong and their dragon god satisfied. The guards stopped at a massive circular pit in the center of the temple. The opening was 50 feet wide, surrounded by carved stone that depicted dragons and fire. The pit descended into darkness so deep that Maya could not see the bottom. A hot wind rose from below, carrying a smell of sulfur and something else, something ancient. The crowd grew silent. Even the young Zaltharian children stopped their chittering to watch. High Priest Zalthor raised his 3-fingered hands toward the ceiling. Great Karathax, ancient one who dwells below, we offer you this creature from the weak species called human. Accept our sacrifice and grant our empire another century of power. The guards lifted Maya easily. She weighed almost nothing to their strong arms. They held her over the edge of the pit. Maya looked down into the darkness and felt the hot air push against her face. Somewhere far below, something massive stirred. Any last words, human child? Zalthor asked, though he did not expect an answer. Most sacrifices could only scream. Maya looked at him with her dark brown eyes. My name is Maya, she said quietly. And I am not afraid. The priest's scales rippled with what might have been surprise. Then he nodded to the guards. They released her. Maya fell into the darkness. The air rushed past her ears. She did not scream. Instead, she tucked her body tight and prepared for whatever came next. The walls of the pit rushed past her, lit by strange glowing fungi that cast everything in green light. She fell for what felt like forever. Then she hit something that was not ground. It was warm and covered in scales. The impact knocked the breath from her lungs, but the surface beneath her moved, cushioning her fall. She had landed on something alive. Maya rolled and found her feet on the cave floor. Her eyes adjusted to the dim light. The chamber was enormous, carved from natural rock. And there, filling most of the space, was the dragon. Karathax was larger than any building Maya had ever seen. Its scales were deep midnight blue, fading to silver at the edges. Each scale was as large as Maya's hand. The creature's eyes opened slowly, glowing with an inner light like molten gold. Those eyes were older than anything Maya had ever imagined, full of intelligence and sadness. The dragon lowered its massive head toward her. Maya could feel its breath, hot and smelling of smoke. She should have run. She should have screamed. Instead, she reached out one small hand and placed it gently on the dragon's snout. Above them, the Zaltharians waited for the sounds of death. But the temple remained silent except for the quiet breathing of a girl and a dragon, meeting for the first time in 10,000 years. 3 days passed in the darkness of the pit, and Maya Chen was still alive. The monitoring screens in the temple control room showed impossible readings. The dragon had not eaten. The child had not screamed. High Priest Zalthor watched the displays with growing anger and confusion. Deep below, in the ancient chamber, Maya sat against the dragon's warm side. Karathax had not moved much since their first meeting. The creature seemed content to watch her with those glowing golden eyes. Maya had explored the cave and found a small stream of clean water flowing through the rocks. She drank from it and washed her face. She was hungry, but hunger was not new to her. In the prison camps, the Zaltharians had barely fed their human captives. Maya had learned to push through the empty feeling in her stomach. She spent her time talking to the dragon instead. My mother was a scientist, Maya said softly, running her hand along the dragon's scales. She studied old buildings and artifacts. She said humans used to live all over the galaxy, but then something happened. Everyone disappeared. The dragon's breathing changed. Its massive head turned toward her. Maya felt something strange in her mind, like a gentle pressure. It was not words exactly, but feelings and images. She saw flashes of memory that were not her own. She saw a world covered in blue grass and purple skies. She saw dragons flying freely through clouds of silver mist. And she saw humans walking alongside the dragons, not as masters or servants but as friends. The images filled her mind with such clarity that she gasped. "That was your home," Maya whispered. "You lived with humans before." More images came. Maya saw the Zaltharians discovering Karathax in some kind of sleeping chamber. She saw them placing metal collars around the dragon's neck and limbs. The collars sent jolts of pain through the creature's body whenever it tried to resist. For 10,000 years, Karathax had been a prisoner, forced to play the role of a sacred beast for a civilization that did not understand what it truly was. Tears ran down Maya's cheeks. "I am so sorry," she said. "They hurt you for so long." The dragon made a sound deep in its chest, like distant thunder. It was not angry at her. Through their connection, Maya felt the dragon's recognition. It knew she was human. It had waited thousands of years to find another human, believing its companions were gone forever. Maya reached into her shirt and pulled out a small silver locket she wore on a chain. Inside was a tiny data chip, no bigger than her fingernail. "My mother gave me this before the soldiers took her. She said it contained important information about the old human sites. I do not know what it means." Karathax leaned closer, examining the locket with great interest. More images flooded Maya's mind. She saw massive ships shaped like teardrops, covered in symbols that matched the ones on her mother's chip. She saw control panels and screens filled with writing she could not read. And she understood something terrifying and wonderful at the same time. This pit was not natural. The temple above was not really a temple. It was all part of something much larger, something built by humans long ago. The Zaltharians had found it and built their civilization on top of it, never knowing what existed beneath their feet. Suddenly, alarms began blaring from somewhere above. Maya looked up toward the distant opening of the pit. Red lights flashed in the darkness. Through their bond, Karathax sent her a surge of warning and fear. The dragon could smell something being pumped into the chamber. Gas, heavy and yellow, began pouring down from vents in the walls. Maya coughed as the gas reached her. Her eyes burned. Her throat felt like fire. The Zaltharians had decided that if the dragon would not kill the child, they would kill them both. Karathax wrapped one massive wing around Maya, pulling her close to its chest. The dragon's eyes began to glow brighter than before, changing from gold to brilliant white. Something was waking up inside the ancient creature, something that had been sleeping for far too long. The yellow gas filled the chamber like a poisonous fog. Maya's lungs burned with each breath she took under the shelter of Karathax's wing. The dragon's body trembled with rage that had built up over 10,000 years of captivity. The metal collars around its neck and legs sparked and crackled as the creature fought against them. High Priest Zalthor watched from the control room above. "Increase the gas flow," he ordered the technicians. "Both the beast and the human child must die. They have broken our sacred tradition." But something was happening in the pit that the priest did not expect. Karathax's scales began to glow with blue light, starting from the chest and spreading outward like fire across dry grass. The patterns moved and shifted, forming symbols that matched the ones on Maya's data chip. Maya felt the dragon's heartbeat thundering against her small body. Through their mental connection, she felt Karathax gathering strength that had kept hidden for centuries. The dragon had pretended to be weak, had played the role of a sleeping beast, waiting for the right moment. That moment was now. Karathax released a roar that shook the entire temple complex. The sound was not just noise but something more, a vibration that traveled through stone and metal. The collars around the dragon's body exploded into pieces of smoking metal. The neural suppressors that had kept the creature docile for millennia shattered like glass. "Impossible," Zalthor hissed, his scales turning pale with fear. Maya coughed and struggled to breathe in the pocket of air beneath the dragon's wing. She could see a metal panel on the nearby wall, partially hidden by rocks. Her mother had taught her about old human technology. If this place was built by humans, there might be controls she could access. "The panel?" Maya gasped, pointing. "Over there." Karathax understood. The dragon's tail swept across the cave floor, clearing the rocks away from the wall. Maya ran to it, her small fingers finding the seam in the metal. She pulled out her mother's locket and pressed the data chip against a small slot she found near the edge. For a moment nothing happened. Then the panel lit up with soft blue light. Text appeared in a language Maya did not know, but the symbols looked like the ones from Karathax's memories. The panel was asking for authorization. Maya pressed her hand against the screen. "Please," she whispered. "Help us." The panel flashed. Somewhere deep in the structure, ancient systems came to life for the first time in thousands of years. The yellow gas suddenly stopped flowing. Vents in the ceiling opened and clean air rushed in. The lights in the chamber changed from dim green to bright white. In the control room, every screen went dark and then displayed a message in glowing letters. The Zaltharian technicians could not read the ancient human language, but they understood the image that appeared: a dragon and a small handprint side by side. "What is happening?" Zalthor demanded. The answer came as the floor beneath the temple began to hum with power. Defensive systems that had slept for ages activated. Barriers of energy appeared around Maya and Karathax, protecting them. The dragon spread its wings fully for the first time in 10,000 years, and they were magnificent, spanning nearly the entire width of the chamber. Karathax crouched low and Maya climbed onto the dragon's back, holding tight to the ridge of scales along its neck. The creature looked up at the distant opening of the pit, then at the solid rock ceiling of the chamber. Through their bond, Maya felt the dragon's intention. "Hold on, little one," came the thought in her mind, clear as spoken words. The dragon gathered its legs beneath its body and launched upward with explosive force. Its powerful wings beat once, twice, and they rose through the pit. But they did not stop at the opening. Karathax crashed through level after level of the temple structure, smashing through floors and ceilings as if they were paper. Zaltharian guards scattered in panic as the dragon and child burst through walls. Behind them, the entire temple complex began to shift and change, revealing its true nature as something far more advanced than any Zaltharian technology. They were not in a temple anymore. They were inside a ship and it was waking up. Karathax burst through the temple roof with Maya clinging to its back. Pieces of stone and metal rained down on the panicking Zaltharians below. The dragon's wings caught the air and they soared upward into the purple sky. Maya gasped as she saw the world spread out beneath them for the first time. But there was no time to enjoy the view. Alarms blared across the entire planet. Zaltharian fighter ships rose from landing pads like angry insects, their weapons already charging. High Priest Zalthor's voice crackled over every communication channel in the Empire. "The beast has escaped with the human child. All forces are ordered to destroy them both. No one can know that our sacred temple is really human technology. Kill them before they leave this world." Dozens of ships streaked toward them, leaving trails of blue exhaust in the sky. Energy weapons fired, sending bolts of deadly light through the air. Karathax twisted and turned, dodging the attacks with grace that seemed impossible for something so large. Maya felt the dragon's thoughts in her mind. They needed to get back inside the ship, the structure the Zaltharians had mistaken for a temple. But the dragon could not fight an entire fleet alone, even newly freed from its chains. Below them, the temple complex was transforming. Walls retracted into the ground. Towers reshaped themselves. The true form of the ancient vessel revealed itself, a massive ship shaped like a teardrop, easily a mile long. Its surface was covered in the same glowing blue symbols that marked Karathax's scales. "There," Maya shouted over the wind, pointing downward. "We need to get inside." Karathax folded its wings and dove. Energy blasts sizzled past them, so close that Maya felt the heat on her skin. The dragon angled toward an opening in the ship's hull that had just appeared. They plunged through its seconds before a missile exploded where they had been. Inside, the ship was beautiful and strange. Corridors stretched in every direction, lit by soft blue light. The walls were smooth and organic-looking, as if the ship had been grown rather than built. Maya slid off the dragon's back and ran her hands along the nearest wall. It felt warm under her touch. "Where do we go?" she asked. Karathax's thoughts guided her. The dragon knew this ship from ancient memories. They moved through the corridors together until they reached a massive chamber. Maya stopped and stared with wide eyes. The room was filled with hundreds of large crystal pods, each one containing a dragon in suspended sleep. They were different sizes and colors, from small ones no bigger than horses to massive creatures that rivaled Karathax itself. All of them were waiting, dreaming, preserved for thousands of years. "Your family," Maya whispered. "They are all here." Through the walls they could hear explosions. The Zaltharian fleet was bombarding the ship, trying to break through its shields. Warning lights flashed red throughout the chamber. A holographic display appeared in the air, showing the Zaltharian ships surrounding them in orbit. Maya found a control console near the center of the room. The same slot for a data chip waited there. She knew what she had to do, but she hesitated. If she woke all these dragons, what would happen? Would they destroy the Zaltharians? Would there be war across the entire galaxy? She thought of her parents taken by Zaltharian soldiers. She thought of all the other humans suffering in prison camps across the Empire. She thought of Karathax trapped and tortured for 10,000 years. Humanity's strength is not in running or hiding, she said, remembering her mother's words. It is in standing up for those who cannot stand for themselves. Maya inserted the data chip. The console lit up with brilliant light. Throughout the chamber, the crystal pods began to glow. Inside them, ancient eyes opened. Wings stirred. The dragons were waking up. But something else happened too. Deep in space, far beyond this solar system, an automated beacon activated. It sent a signal racing faster than light across the galaxy, a message that had been waiting to transmit for 300 years. The message was simple: Ark Ship 7 has been found. Guardians are awake, requesting immediate assistance. And somewhere in the distant stars, someone received it. The crystal pods opened one by one, releasing clouds of cold mist. Dragons of every color emerged, stretching wings that had been folded for thousands of years. They were confused at first, their minds still foggy from the long sleep. But when they saw Karathax and felt the small human child standing beside the Ancient One, something clicked in their memories. They remembered the bond between humans and dragons, a friendship older than the stars. Outside the ship, the Zaltharian fleet continued its bombardment. High Priest Zalthor stood on the bridge of the largest warship, his clawed hands gripping the command rail. Increase firepower. Destroy that ship before anyone discovers what we have done. But the shields around the Ark ship held strong. The dragons inside linked their minds together, forming a protective sphere of energy around Maya. She was the first human they had seen in ages, and every dragon instinct told them to guard her with their lives. Then space itself seemed to tear open. Massive portals formed in the darkness, and through them came ships unlike anything the Zaltharians had ever seen. They were sleek and white, marked with symbols of Earth and dozens of human colony worlds. The Human Federation had arrived. The lead ship was enormous, a carrier that made even the largest Zaltharian warship look like a toy. On its bridge stood Admiral Sarah Chin, a woman with gray hair and the same dark eyes as Maya. She stared at the screens showing the Ark ship below, her hands trembling. Ark Ship 7, she whispered. After 300 years of searching, we finally found one. She touched the screen gently. And the life signs show a child aboard. A human child. Her communication officer looked up with tears in his eyes. Admiral, the genetic signature matches your family. It is your granddaughter. Sarah Chin closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with steel determination. Open a channel to the Zaltharian fleet. All frequencies. Her face appeared on every Zaltharian screen. She spoke in their language, her words clear and cold. This is Admiral Sarah Chin of the Human Federation. You are attacking a protected Ark ship and have attempted to murder a human child. Stand down immediately or face consequences. Zalthor laughed, a hissing sound. Humans abandoned this space 300 years ago. You have no power here. We built our empire on your ruins. You built nothing, Sarah replied. You simply moved into houses we left behind while we dealt with a plague that nearly destroyed us. We left the Ark ships as seeds for our return, guarded by dragons who volunteered to sleep and wait. You found one of our ships, imprisoned its guardian, and used it as a temple to a false god. That ends today. The human ships moved into formation. Their weapons charged, but they did not fire. Sarah was giving the Zaltharians one chance. On the Ark ship, Maya felt Karathax's thoughts urging her toward a communication panel. She placed her small hand on it and spoke, her voice carrying to every ship in the system. My name is Maya Chen. The dragons are not weapons. They are not gods. They are friends who protect those who need protection. Karathax showed me kindness when you showed me only cruelty. Please, no more fighting. The words of a child reached across the void of space. Many Zaltharian ship captains hesitated. Some of the younger soldiers began to question orders they had followed without thinking. Was their empire really built on lies? But Zalthor would not surrender. All ships attack the human fleet. We will not give up our power. Before he could finish the command, his own generals stunned him with an energy weapon. The second in command, a younger Zaltharian named Kreth, stepped forward. No more, he said firmly. We have lived in fear of technology we do not understand for too long. If humans are willing to talk, we will listen. The Zaltharian fleet powered down its weapons. The human ships did the same. In the space between the two forces, a small shuttle launched from the human carrier. Admiral Sarah Chin descended to the Ark ship alone. When the airlock opened, she ran through the corridors until she found a chamber filled with dragons and one small girl standing in the center. Maya looked up at the woman who looked so much like her mother. "Grandma?" Maya whispered. Sarah Chin fell to her knees and pulled her granddaughter into her arms, tears streaming down her face. Around them, 300 dragons hummed with contentment. Karathax lowered its great head and touched Sarah gently with its snout, a greeting between old friends. Above them, Zaltharian and human ships floated side by side in an uneasy peace. It was not the end of all problems, but it was a beginning. And sometimes, a beginning was all anyone needed. 5 years passed. Maya Chin stood on the bridge of a diplomatic vessel, now 13 years old and wearing the uniform of the first human dragon ambassador. Karathax rested beside her, the dragon's presence a comfort she had known since she was 8. Through the window she could see ships from a dozen different species gathering for the Galactic Council meeting. Zaltharian youth studied at human academies now, learning that strength came not from domination but from cooperation. Former enemies worked together to explore new worlds. Karathax sent her a warm thought. "You saved me, little one. But really you saved them all." Maya smiled and rested her hand on the dragon's scales. "That is what humans do. We protect those who need protecting. Even ancient dragons." Together they looked out at the stars, ready for whatever adventures tomorrow would bring. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and they would face it side by side as humans and dragons had always been meant to do.